Ladies, gents and Pikachus, welcome back to the channel. This is a public service announcement. This is one of the more important things that I think you will hear in your life. As we have seen as I've been reading through this book, we find out that Allah is an evil demon and he motivates his worshippers not only into violence, but he specifically instructs them to invade every single other territory and country upon the earth and to kill the men by chopping their heads off while lying to them, showing them a fake friendly face so that they can get underneath the skin of the government and the authorities in that country. Allah instructs them to kill all the men, enslave all the women and children, take everything of value and erase the native culture and oppress them, so in future the only culture they have is Sharia, Quran worship, Islam. That is what this book says, and we know this because we have read it. We're not even halfway through it yet, and that's already been made clear by Allah that he has no respect for anybody else's life or identity or culture. He wants us Muslims to crush all that completely dead, throw it in the bin and replace it with his version, which is what we're seeing now in other Islamic countries where they are hopelessly oppressed. There is no voting, no freedom of speech, no freedom of religion, no freedom of identity. There is only Allah worship. So how do we know this to be the case? Well, I can tell you this much. Apart from the evidence in here, if we put that to one side and we don't even consider that, many of the commenters that I have had criticising me and my work, the only criticism they can come up with is like picking at the small finer details. So they have not even denied, they don't even refute the fact that Allah tells them to flood into other countries, destroy the laws and culture, dominate them through an authoritarian military structure and kill all the men so that they can enslave all the women and children and turn the whole culture into Allah worshippers. They don't even deny that. You know what their main complaint is? How do you know the Pharaoh was a Muslim? That's what they come up with. That's literally it. Like, they know for a fact they cannot deny the things that I've said because they are true, and Allah tells them they're not allowed to deny it, but they still have to mount some kind of a defense of themselves. So what do? They pick out small irrelevant details that could be debatable and they try and drag the conversation over there. So if they can win the argument on that smaller detail, they can then say, right, that's it, we win all the arguments then because we won that little one. It's completely insincere and dishonest. It's almost like this. Imagine if someone accused you of being a mass murderer and a rapist with crap taste in t-shirts, and your response was, but my t-shirts are brilliant. What does that say about you? If you haven't bothered to refute the worst accusations thrown at you, and you immediately diverted to the fucking t-shirts thing. Just, guys, wake up. It's time to stop fucking about and pretending to yourselves that this is a religion of peace. This is not a religion of peace. We know this because we have read it. The evidence is in here. This is a religion of war and death and slavery and domination and evil. So in conclusion, do I think after reading this that Allah gives true guidance and that anyone who follows him will live in righteous and without sin? Fucking no, I don't. I know for a fact, in his own words, everyone who believes what Allah guides them with in the Quran ends up in sin, in pain, or dead. Even his Muslims, they don't have happy lives. So the conclusion is this: we need to fight for our own culture, our own ideals, our nations and our identities, our religious worship or our secular religions, whatever, you know, our secular ways. We have to fight to not be this. Otherwise, the game's over. And they know it. They absolutely know it. That's why when they are criticising me in the comments, they don't go near any of the accusations I've made. They try and focus on the smaller detail. Was the Pharaoh a Muslim? It doesn't matter whether the Pharaoh was a Muslim. It doesn't matter whether the Pharaoh was even alive. The point of the story is Allah lies to Moses to cause him to commit to sin. Then Allah goes back to his Muslims and goes, we should kill those evil guys over there because they just committed the sin, even though Allah's guidance was the one that led them to committing that sin. So both parties believed what Allah said, Moses believed Allah and did the sacrifice of the cow. The Muslims believed Allah, that he is now evil because he did that sacrifice. But both parties are now at war and in sin because of Allah's guidance. That's the conclusion of this video. Allah's guidance is a guidebook to sin, torture, murder, and death. And we need to do everything we can to maintain our own culture, our own ideals, our own identity, and make sure this remains minority, because it's evil and sinful and bad. And the proof is in here. If you don't believe me, buy a Quran of the Muslims for yourself and read it, and you'll know every single word I've said in any of my videos is 100% true of what is in here. That's the end of this video. And there is still time for us to fight this, but it's ticking away, ladies, gents and Pikachu, so get yourselves in gear, tool yourself up with the wisdom you need, and let's fight this and win. God bless, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye now. Bye bye.